I did a lot of work with healers over the course of that year and initially in 2021. And then April rolled around. I know that there was some full moon happening, and I was just like, all right, I'm ready. Like it finally dropped in the full body yes to being.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I was just like, yep. And I know who my first lover is going to be. It's this person I've been talking to over Instagram, and da 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 da, and just really like brought the experience in. I was ready for it. And even though I'd been counseling polyamorous couples for a long time as a therapist, and so it was really about not so much about the structures of polyamory that I was interested in, but about the deeper pieces, about like the intimacy pieces and the things we get caught up in, like the stories or the nervous system dysregulation, like just looking at the deeper aspects of it. And I knew that I was prepared on that level. And even still, I was shocked by how activated parts of me got in that initial relationship, even though it was like extremely joyful, so healing, like big shame release, just around like my desire to love many and to have healing experiences around sex, right? It wasn't just about love, but it was also about like spiritual sex and spiritual partnerships.
I love that. What a patriarchy buster to relate.
Totally. I
I
think
just
that was part of the shame release was just like, any sort of religious conditioning that had been sort of in my ancestry and patriarchy with blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And I love that that's definitely one of my passions as well is just really exploring sacred sexuality because
Yes.
I feel like that is the lens that's missing in modern day sexuality because it can be such a healing practice
Yes.
done with trust and reverence and devotion.
Yes. I
Oh,
love that word reverence.
yes.
Yeah. And my first partner was so perfect for me because I just, after having been married or having been partnered with my ex-husband for 20 years, it was, it was very new. I felt like it was like kind of like a teenager, kind of like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I felt so incredibly awkward. And, I needed a lot of patience and acceptance and just kind of like approval of just like, yep, it's okay. You can take your time and, da, da, da. And I needed that. I really needed that. So that was really healing experience. Just that piece of it, just the patience was very healing for me.
Yeah. So, like, how did you work up the kind of courage to go for it? Like, I love that you said that you waited until you got the full body yes. And
Yeah.
a little bit about, what did you have to kind of unravel as far as the conditioning or your
Yes.
own identities?
That's a great question because I knew that I had made some massive mistakes in my marriage, right? I had been in a codependent relationship. I had codependent tendencies just because of how I had been raised. And then I had this other really hyper independent part. Like, there's like, they seem like polar opposites, and yet they both lived inside of me. And it was really like at that point, the hyper independent piece that I really need to work on because I was just kind of like, yeah, like I was just saying, like, I don't want relationships. And I could go for the rest of my life and just be by myself and I'd be fine. And just sort of this very like isolated hermit like kind of thing. And I had to like, as part of the like so I decided to be intentionally celibate, and of course COVID helped with that. And during that time I was communicating with this person that I ended up um having as my first lover, but I was communicating with him and I remember like he had reached out to me initially and my initial response was suspicion. What do you want? And I was like, "Oh, what is that? Like, why am I so suspicious? Like, like what is it? Is it around men in general? Is it just anybody that gets close to me? It's like anybody who expresses interest." And I was digging deeper and I just was feeling this bigger suspicion of like when somebody feels desire, how does my body react? I react with judgment. Like
Mm,
like sexuality, like some aspect of sexuality is bad. Like don't bring that to me or I something is going to get taken from me was the fear, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I had to unravel that. And then the other piece was the hyper independence of just like, yeah, I don't really feel like I want to even do this. It's too messy and hard, right?
Mhm.
Is what my brain was telling me, but it was just this fear of intimacy, just this really deep level fear. And what the part of the process of clearing that was really getting in touch with my loneliness, because I rarely feel lonely. I'm
Mhm.
really happy being by myself, da da da. And that's partly why I'm solo polyamorous, is because I just really don't want a partner in my space all the time. But but I had to get in touch with my loneliness to really go in that space and really, like, basically I felt at that time like that the universe had me by the scruff and was like putting my face on the sidewalk and being like, do you want to be in a relationship or not? And I'm like, yes, I do.